I know a little.
I know a little about it.
I know a little bit about love. Baby, I can guess the rest. Afternoon, folks. I hope everybody's having a good Sunday afternoon. We don't generally do things on Sunday. We try to rest, but a good friend of ours, Jim, gave us a bunch of potatoes, and we're not going to be able to use them all before they go bad, so we're going to can up a batch of them today. Now, there's several different ways that you can can potatoes. You can dry can them. That's the Rebel canning way, where you don't use liquid. We're going to be doing it the traditional way, to where you use liquid. I'm going to have some help from my lovely wife, because she's going to peel them, which that drives me bonkers, and I'm going to slice them, which also drives me bonkers, but this is a team effort, and we're not going to be able to get it done in the amount of time we have without each other helping. So here's our potatoes. They've already been washed, so now my wife is going to get to peeling.
Ta-da.
We're cutting these up in about half-inch chunks, and I'm down to the last potato. But our two four-legged helpers have been patiently awaiting, and apparently there is a potato tax. So there's one for Dixie, and there's one for Vader. Over here and get my water going, because what we got to do here is we've got to kind of boil these for about 2 minutes. It's going to be a parboil. We're not going to blanch them, because I'm not going to do ice water after I get done with them. They'll go straight out of the pot. I'll strain them, then we'll get them put in the jars. See you in a minute. All right, we got a bunch of potato peels here left. Now, folks, you don't have to throw these away. There's a lot of things you can do with these things. I mean, you can put them in your compost bin if you've got certain type of animals, chickens or something like that. They'll eat them. Now, there's other things you can do with potato peels too. It involves fermenting and copper pots and all this kind of good stuff, but we're not going to talk about that today. All right, it's time to transfer. They've been going for about 2 minutes. You really don't have to bring them to a boil. Just heat them up for about 2 minutes. You don't really want them to get soft. Once again, always pour away from you. Now, I might have to do this in a couple of times, because I don't think my colander is going to nowhere near hold all these potatoes, but we'll get it done. I'll make fun of these pot holders. A good friend of ours, Babe, made these pot holders. Potatoes going everywhere. Alright, we're going to add a half a teaspoon of salt to these. Now, you don't have to. I generally add salt to what we're canning. Some people say you got to use canning salt. I mean, you use what you want to use. I'm just using regular table salt. I'm not going to get too fancy with it. I mean, that's what my grandmother used. That's what I'm going to use. My wife made mention something about bouncing the jars, possibly busting the bottoms out. I suppose it could happen. I haven't had a problem with it. I wipe the tops of mine down with vinegar. You really don't have to too much with stuff like potatoes. If y'all watched my videos before, you notice when I put my lids on, I just do them just like that. That's all it needs. You don't need to really tighten down on them really tight. All you just need to do is make sure that it's just finger tight. To me, that's finger tight. This is hand tight. This, what I'm doing, that's finger tight. Alright, we're going to transfer these over to the pressure canner. Mine will hold about 6 quarts. Well, it will hold 6 quarts. Try to get them in there as evenly as you can. They say that they shouldn't touch. Now, I don't know what would happen if it did. Now if y'all have watched my videos before, I don't do a lot of canning in the house. It's just too hot. But it's raining today, and I didn't want to fight the rain, and I didn't want to have to worry about the rain cooling the canner down. I've said this before, always check the canner. I just usually look up and see if I can see the light through the little hole here. Check and make sure your little valve is where it's supposed to be. Put your lid on, cut your fire up until you start getting a solid stream of steam coming out of this. They say once it starts to let it go for 10 minutes. I don't. I just make sure it's a solid stream for a little bit, then I put my weight on. We'll be back in a little bit when the steam kicks up, and we'll put the weight on, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Good. We're going to put our weight on. Now we're under 1,000 feet, so you got a 10-pound weight. If you're above 1,000 feet, you got to add more weight. Be careful putting this on there because that steam's hot. Now all we got to wait is for this thing to jiggle. I did forget to tell you again, know your canner. You've got to know how your canner works. This one right here has got a little thing that pops up along with this. Once again, this right here is on there just so this thing doesn't turn into a bomb, you know, and blow up the kitchen, because the house that we're in right now, in this very place my grandmother was canning green beans and had a pressure cooker blow up, and after that she never pressure canned anything again. She always used a Rebel canning method. She always did water bath canning. I'm not telling you to do water bath canning. I'm telling you that that's all she ever used after the pressure canner blew up, and we never had a problem with it. So we'll come back in a little bit when it's wiggling, and we will start our time for potatoes. It's going to be 40 minutes on quarts. So when we get to jiggling, I'll adjust my heat down a little bit just so it stays wiggling. You don't want to keep your heat turned wide open. You just want it hot enough to where the weight is going to be wiggling. Then you'll set your timer. So we'll come back in a minute. All right, our little weight is going to town. Now we're going to adjust our fire down. Like I said, you don't have to have the heat wide open, because if you do, it's going to start siphoning. That's where all the water comes out of the jars, and you have a dry jar. So what you want to do is just adjust your weight down to where it stays wiggling. Timer at 40 minutes. We'll be back. This sound means it's time, so we're going to cut our heat off. Don't mess with this thing until it completely shuts down. This little button here has to be depressed all the way. The weight has to stop wiggling. Just don't get in a hurry. I mean, leave it there for a couple hours as far as that goes. Because you definitely don't want to try to open this thing up under pressure. Some of the newer ones you actually can't open up, but this one here is a fairly simple canner, and I reckon you could. You probably wouldn't do it but once, but it's all about patience. Now it might take me a nap. So I'm going to take my weight off. I'm going to open up our canner, and it looks like several of them have already popped. I've put my stuff up, so I'm going to try to get these things out with this dish rag. Now be careful, because I mean, you can see these things are still cooking, so be very careful. You drop one of these things on your feet and it busts, you're going to be going to the doctor. This is where you got to be careful with the jars banging around on each other, because it's very possible that they could bust. I have never seen it except on videos before. It does not look very fun. Now, I very rarely have had one that didn't seal. But if you have one that doesn't seal, just put it in the refrigerator. I mean, you can always use it in a week or so. I suppose you could go back and reprocess them. It may make the product a little soft, but I suppose that would work well too. Now, don't move these things around very much. Just leave them alone, and everything will be just fine. You should be able to put them in your storage, your pantry, or however you store these things the next day in the morning. Other than that, thank y'all for watching. Have a good evening. Be nice to each other. There's always somebody out there going through something that you just don't know about. If you got a grudge against somebody, turn it loose. Let it go. It's not worth dragging around. Y'all have a good evening.